we need to start with saying the two most important things that we need to get out of this is an awareness of, and we're talking about menopause here, the thing that nobody wants to freaking talk about. And that's what Merle and I have been finding really like hitting brick walls and a lot of emotion. And so the two things that we need to get out of this is that men need to be educated on certain aspects of this, every part of aspect of this, actually. And so do freaking doctors. We all do, actually, because I'm seeing that there's been some misdiagnosing going on. And we're going to talk a little bit about hormone replacement therapy, that it's not like it was in the 90s, folks. It's a whole different ballgame. And there's different schools of thought amongst medical professions on this. So, Merle, what kind of grief or what have you come across during
Well,
our exploration?
I have a brief history here that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to read first because this is it's so it everything we know about menopause right now has virtually been discovered in the last 50 years. Before that, there's
And has
just been,
evolved a lot.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let me just read this because it was kind of shocking. Earliest known references to menopause have been very scarce. Aristotle referred to age at menopause being 40 years. I wonder about that. A French physician coined the term menopause in 1821. Medical interest in menopause increased considerably in the mid 19th century. In the 1930s, people started describing it as a deficiency disease.
Oh, yeah.
Consequently, various replenishment therapies were advocated, uh, like testicular juice, crushed ovaries of animals,
Oh my God.
that was just in the 1930s, Barry. In the
Oh my God.
1970s, medicalization of menopause was complete. That's not until the 1970s. Menopausal symptoms were ascribed to estrogen deficiency, and estrogen hormone replacement therapy was exhorted as the ultimate liberation of middle-aged women. Then synthetic estrogen was developed in 1938. Medical industry pharmaceuticals entered the scenario of menopause in a big way and dominated the center stage. In the 1970s, International Menopause Society was established. First International Congress on Menopause was also organized in Paris in 1976. Various countries have formed national societies on menopause. Symptomology of menopause differs in different areas of the world. Like in the
Really?
West, yes, in the West, hot flush, it says. In Japan, shoulder pain. And in India,
Whoa.
low vision are the hallmarks of menopause. Low
I
vision.
didn't know this, and I did a lot of research too. I
What
did.
you see,
Wow.
this is the thing I'm finding, Barry, is that it's like you can't peg the target.
That's
And
exactly
this is
right.
causing the problem is that, oh, it's nothing. Oh, you're
And it's
fine.
not
It's
just that.
normal.
Didn't you, like I did? I had to do a lot of digging. It wasn't like, oh, I just threw it in the
No,
chat. I had to
no.
keep asking a lot of questions and dig a lot further and
And
further.
I'm finding in my research that that's what women are experiencing as well. When they run into these things, they're not given a lot of direction, and it's almost
Yes.
like find a needle in the haystack. And every
Yes.
woman is different, so the
Yes.
symptoms are different. So it's like it's it. I can imagine this making you feel like you were crazy
Mm.
because of all of this
You know what?
stuff that's going on. Let me just finish this. Uh, this historically also a lower age at menopause was documented in earlier times. This rose to the age of 50 to 51 years in the present era. Overall, women in Western countries view menopause negatively. This is contrasted with a positive outlook towards menopause in a developing country like India. That's
What? That
interesting.
again? I had no idea about that.
Me neither. It seems like every stone we look under, you find something unique or different, or start all over again. It's
Hmm.
and just how frustrating this is for it must be for women. I can't even
Well,
imagine.
I want to say something very, very important at this point. How frustrating that is for women, and what you've been talking about that's been enlightening is the difference between how it's viewed in Eastern and Western societies. And over here, what, of course, we are going to continually talk about is, man, women don't want to talk about this and don't want, I mean, are cringing that we're talking about it. And here's why. Lisa said this to me, and it just rang true with me as soon as she said it. Just like when women would get their periods much younger and dealing with boys and young men much younger, and all of that secrecy that's going on and the emotions that come along with it. When that young man learns a little something about this, it's held against the woman. Oh,
Yes,
you must have your period. You know how
right.
freaking downgrading that is? Degrading, I should say.
No, I can't
And
imagine.
so all of those years of that hangover is just being thrust upon this situation. Now, the important thing is, just me talking, at least you're dealing with 40-plus-year-old men now. We're a little bit more mature. We're not so freaking,
A little bit.
a little bit, seriously,
The
after 40,
problem,
finally.
well, and
Here,
here's
I just want to make this point that we as men have to be sensitive to this fact, let women know that we are, because there's real medical issues in play here. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I want you to go ahead and finish with what you were talking about, Merle.
well, I was going to just really double down on the fact that there is a lack of education in the world regarding this, at least in America. And I can't speak for women on this, but regarding men, we are clueless.
Yeah,
You mentioned the scenario of younger men, but older men are not educated on what the symptoms are. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to help. And hopefully, through what we talk about here today, we can offer up some ways that we can be very helpful because when it comes to especially marriage, it doesn't matter that it's happening to your spouse, it's happening to you too because you're
yeah,
attached and it might be happening to you. You're experiencing it in different ways, but it's happening to this thing isn't just happening to women. It's happening to women and therefore men are a part of this because
mhm.
we're a part of women and if we look at it the right way, we can be very helpful in this area but it is very sensitive.
It is, and it's a tightrope walk because one of the recommendations here for men is don't try to fix it. It's always
Mm.
the recommendation for men. Don't try to fix it. It's what we want to do with
This is with
everything.
everything. Yeah.
Listen, empathize, and but I'm going to say keep an ear to the ground of when you might want to recommend medical intervention. I don't mean out of frustration and anger. I mean, you know, from my end, I really just have to read what Lisa gave us.
Yeah.
Is now a good time?
Yeah, I think now's a good time.
Okay,
And this is
because there's a lot to
eye-opening. Yeah.
a lot to unpack here. Okay, she says it's individualized, and I want to preface this with Lisa and I together, as you said, Merle, it's a together thing. It affects both of you. We went through a lot of medical stuff trying to pinpoint the effects of menopause. So we're gonna, and what you're gonna get out of this is how tough it is for women, men, and how in the dark the medical industry is. It's individualized for each woman. Some barely notice changes. Lisa's few friends. She has a few friends that, like, I don't know, maybe had a hot flash, which she's like, my God. And some are completely upended. While I expected hot flashes and night sweats in my 50s, the rumors I heard about mood swings was nothing new as women go through this every single month for 30 to 40 years with menstruation. But I had no idea how much worse it could be. 10 years ago, when I was in my 40s, nobody talked about perimenopause, which I would argue was worse because I had no idea what was going on. I had intense heart palpitations. That's all she says about that. I'm telling you, this was really bad and really scary and serious. The heart palpitations, hot flashes,
Mm.
night sweats, severe insomnia, and major brain fog. I beat by this. She told me when we talked about this personally that severe insomnia that leads to couples with the major brain fog. She explained to me how was very threatening to her identity as a
I,
very competent person.
yes,
So she
yes.
says it as here, I beat myself up for not being a crisp thinker and doer that I always was. I felt like I was slipping, exhausted, anxious, and most critically for me personally, not able to think clearly. I and everyone else attributed it to stress, working too hard, blah, blah, blah. Yes, when you can't sleep or think, it's stressful. She says in all caps. It took
Yes.
many years to find someone in integrative medicine who suggested some remedies that helped. And this is when I made a little note. When Lisa told me about this, I wanted to note chicken or the egg, which was the instigator? Meaning, did the lack of sleep come first? Did the menopause come first? Which caused, but it becomes a serpent, a snake chasing its tail. They're interrelated and they just compound each other's problems. So she continues. When I reached official menopause at age 51, I was back in the same place with the same physical and emotional symptoms, but my GYN pointed to a study that said that there's an increased risk of breast cancer if you do HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So, of course, I tried to push through it for a year. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take it. So at 52, I went to a menopause specialist who eased my concerns. I took bioidentical hormones for the then recommended 5 years. My regular GYN, this is where everybody in the medical industry has a different freaking opinion and they all think they got it right. And they're
Right.
totally different, man. My regular GYN told me 5 years was the max cancer risks again. So
Mm.
at 57, I started tapering off, which threw me right back into the exact state I was at age 51 to 52. Again, I tried to push through it for a year until the heart palpitations, insomnia, sweats, and anxiety drove me to find a specialist who does all the education for the Menopause Society. She gives the links, menopause.org. She was very convinced that the symptoms I was having would probably cause heart issues long before the hormone replacement therapy would cause breast cancer, even if it would at all. She showed me the data. It kind of makes me angry. I asked if
Yeah.
she was on HRT herself, and she said yes. As were all of the female doctors who work with her at the Menopause Society are. And will be for the rest of their lives. They are now doing scientific studies to help inform all GYNs with evidence based data that hormones very likely help, not hurt, a woman's overall long term health. I asked when I need to go off of my current HRT, and she said never.
Hmm.
There's a mouthful right there. So that's the
Yeah.
end of it. We could talk about this and ask questions or whatever as much as you want. But yeah, the point is the medical industry is all over the place.
There's a lot there that she put out there, and thank you, Lisa. That is takes a lot to put your
It's
personal
brave.
story out there. We
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And a couple of things that I picked out of this. It took many years to find someone in integrative medicine who suggested some remedies. Many years. oh my God.
Yeah.
You're having heart palpitations, insomnia, sweats, and anxiety, and it's
Uh-huh.
taken you many years to figure that out. One hour of that is torture. Many years of searching.
Dude,
That
she
is,
was in and out of the hospital for every other symptom with every other potential diagnosis. She was running around 24 hours a day with a monitor on her heart to have that scanned.
it's interesting. When I think about this, because as I was doing my studying on this in research, I was trying to figure out how can I relate to this? And some of these things that Lisa's talking about, heart palpitations, insomnia, sweats, I had struggled with anxiety and being stuck in these syndromes for many days at a time, even up to a month of heart palpitations, insomnia, and sweat, and then going to the doctor and getting a heart monitor. You took me to the
Yeah.
doctor,
Hmm.
and they put that heart monitor on me. But I mean, I felt isolated. I felt like maybe I was crazy. I felt like I couldn't actually talk to anybody about it because they could use that against me.
Yeah.
But this is temporary for me. But this is something that women are locked into. In some of my research, I found that women felt like they were in a submarine underwater, and it's hot, and there's no way to get out of it, and you're just stuck there in a trap, and you can't tell anybody about it. And then they'll tell you, just like here with Lisa, she's saying that they told her, oh, well, it's just the job.
Yeah.
It's work stress. Okay, so this is normal. You're being told this is normal.
You're being disregarded again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like you're just being pushed to the side. Like
Mhm.
I can't, Barry, I can't. As I looked at this, I was heartbroken. I was
Mhm.
angry.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was devastated. I mean, I knew about this, but focusing on it and focusing on and thinking about the ones that I love that are going through
Mhm.
this or are going to go through this or have gone through this. Holy cow.
Mhm.
Holy cow. But yeah, Lisa's uh, uh, journey that she has had here really exemplifies what I believe all women are dealing
I
with.
think something to take away from this is don't settle on your GYN or primary practitioner to their advice. And Lisa has said this for years. She's been in the medical industry for years. Is you have to take your own medical whatever
It's your
the bull,
responsibility.
it is your
Yeah,
responsibility that, when we were kids, it seemed like, oh, your doctor's going to tell you everything you should
right.
do and
Yeah, it's a
guide you and all
fallacy.
that.
Yep,
And well, I think it was true back then.
it
It's
might have
just
been.
not anymore.
Yeah,
And doctors, as we especially found with COVID, are maleducated on a lot of things.
yeah, that's for sure.
And a lot continued their education and interests in different areas than other people do. You know, but I'll also say this. I want to back it up with, I talk with my friend Dr. Jeff about this all the time. That I absolutely believe that nearly every doctor goes in taking the
Yeah,
Hippocratic oath, extreme, do no harm,
do no harm.
very,
Right.
very seriously. They're going into it for the right reasons. They're smart, kind people, and but I want to just end this with saying the lesson out of Lisa's story is, first of all, don't just take one or two opinions as gospel. She dug until she got to the right functional medicine person.
And I think
Integrated,
that's kind
integrated
of that
medicine.
this is the thing with everything now with medicine
Mm-hmm.
is that it's not just this, it's really everything.
Good point, Merle.
Our
Yeah.
healthcare system is that's how it is. It's everybody's got some kind of an opinion, but boy, it's your life and you've got to handle this. And like Lisa said, you got to take the bull by the horn here.
Yeah.
Boy, this is tough stuff here,
I
Barry.
have a list of some common things every man should know. I'll throw this out. Comment where you want. They're quick. Because I think we covered the main bases. But What are the typical ages for menopause? And do some stay in it forever? Perimenopause can start in the early 40s. Menopause, the average is age 51. Postmenopause typically, technically, lasts the rest of her life. Some symptoms fade. Others, like vaginal dryness, fatigue, mood shifts, can linger. Are there medically important side effects? Yes, not just hot flashes and mood swings, increased risk of osteoporosis, heart disease, urinary issues, and sleep disruptions. We touched on a lot of that. Menopause is a whole body transition, not just a reproductive one. Next, mood swings. How bad can they get? Bad enough to resemble clinical depression or anxiety disorders. To that end, I want to mention that one of Lisa's friends, I mentioned that she's had a few friends that are like, yeah, I don't know if I really had it, and it's like, she's like, but she also has another friend that had battled vast periods of severe depression
Right.
as a result. And dude, having battled depression myself too, I can
Yeah.
imagine what battling bouts of severe depression. No, no words for that one.
So much of this, the heart palpitations go with severe depression, this night sweats, the insomnia, all of that. There's a lot of symptoms here sound like severe depression, which is agony and torture. This is and the mental brain fog that Lisa talked about too. Just and feeling inadequate about your identity. I remember.
Oh,
Man, I
oh,
got sick last year, about a year and a half ago, and I had the brain fog thing. I never had that before. And I tried to go back to work, and I remember being in a meeting and just getting crucified in the meeting because I couldn't think fast enough. And I was just like,
wow,
it's over for me. I'm washed up, like those kinds of thoughts. This is
wow.
just a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But look, women are having to deal with this. We need to give women so much more credit for what they're dealing with here because
And
this
we could
is
use a little more credit that
absolutely.
if given the opportunity to be understanding with a little bit of education, we could both ease this pain quite a bit. Because, first of all, I hope what we're getting across here is modern hormone replacement therapy is probably the cure for a lot of otherwise very damaging symptoms such as emotional volatility, rage outbursts, deep fatigue. It says these aren't drama, they're hormonal crashes. So, hormone replacement therapy, HRT, pros and cons. Pros: reduces hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, prevents bone loss and vaginal thinning. Never heard of that. Cons: slight increased risk of blood clots, that's important, breast cancer, or stroke. God, that's scary. In some
Yeah.
forms or age groups. Today's HRT is far safer and more targeted than that of the 90s. Very important to know that because most of us probably have most of our education from the 90s.
Well, and also going back to the history, Barry, this is all the medicine is brand new. I mean, really, just
Yeah,
starting in the 70s. This is all still new,
it
really, in the
is.
grand scheme of things. And when I think about it, this is the part that makes me angry, is that it seems like there's been very little motivation to really help here from the medical community. This is happening to half of our
Yeah,
population for all of human history.
yeah,
And we're just now coming up with reasons why it's happening in the 70s.
yeah.
How could that be? Just
Well,
that
how can that
that's
be?
kind of
I
mind blowing
think
to me.
there's an incredibly important point there that we talked about earlier about because men, when we're young and dumb, hey man, I don't know about you, but I remember when we were in the fourth grade, they
Yeah.
took all the girls out and they went on a little field trip
Hmm.
of mystery. We didn't know, the guys didn't know what was going on. Well, what was going on is they went and saw some movies about periods and
Oh,
menstruation. And
okay.
so, in other words, it's been
Interesting.
our culture to leave men in the dark on this. And so, what do men do when they're ignorant and they get a little glimmer of some
Yeah.
insight and we're stupid, young, and ego motivated, oh, you must be on your period or something like that. Well, now that we're older now, and this is the age of awareness, I'm realizing that more and more every day in every aspect of our lives. We should be able to talk about this with a little bit more maturity and know that we're not going to hold this against you, because I when it was explained to me by Lisa, I immediately understood why women wouldn't want to talk about this.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can totally see that too. And yeah, you're right though, Barry. It's really the socialization process for men, and I can only speak for this country. We've got to change this
Hmm.
around this
Hmm.
subject, and families should be free to talk to each other. But I think,
Yeah,
the parents need to help out the children to understand. Fathers need to help out sons to understand this is a part of life, and it should be treated as a part of life. I love to hear that in India, this is treated as a positive thing, although it's kind of hard to see the positive part, but at least it's embraced.
yeah, natural.
It's natural, but it's unnatural,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
it happens, but these things it shouldn't be natural to be in a state of severe depression, right? So that
No,
we should figure out. I think medicine and science should be a little bit more motivated to figure out how to help out here.
I
It,
just had a huge realization.
Go ahead.
And I think this hits the nail on the head, because I didn't know this until you just told me a minute ago about the difference between the Eastern and Western perspective on this.
Yeah.
Sheds a lot
Food.
of light on things. I'll tell you what, you tell me if this rings true with you. The big reason that women are so defensive about this and all of culture, our culture is in the West, is because of female empowerment fixation. We just want to always talk about how women are all powerful, are not weak, and feminism and blah, 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 blah. And menopause sounds like a weakness. We
Mm.
are talking about female weaknesses. Holy, I'll guarantee you that is like the number one factor that is why this is such a taboo. Guarantee it.
Oh, I'm sure that that has a whole lot to do with it. And, along with all the other things we've been talking
Yeah.
about, menstruation, about childbirth, the whole workplace situation going on and everything. So, yeah, this has definitely been used against women. And,
Yeah.
any weakness especially in business, it's not just women, but men too. And men that have any kind of weakness, other men in
Yep.
business are going to try to capitalize on that and
Yep.
take down that. I mean, because it's like the jungle.
You're
It's
right,
just
man.
any kind of weakness that's out there, we're like insects. We'll tear you apart. And so
Good points.
it's a tough world out there, and men and women both have their challenges, that's for sure. But in this situation, men and women need to work together
Mhm.
better. Women and women need to be communicating better with each other about this. And maybe I like to hear that there are societies like what Lisa mentioned. I forgot the name of it.
Oh,
Menopause
menstrual
Society.
society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like this is
Mhm.
important for women to be able to get the resources because, like she said, it took her years to find somebody that could help.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And speaking of help, one of the things that you've brought up several times is, men being so disparaging. Oh, it's your period. Is it this your
Hmm.
hot flash again? Well, what I found is that men can be very helpful to their spouse or to their friends by not bringing up these things like, oh, it's this or it's that, but we know what it is.
Hmm.
So why not just, oh, hey, can I turn up the air conditioning? Or like you said in your notes, how about a damn fan? And
Right,
just
right.
like, or just go and just be proactive, get a cool glass of water, or open up the windows and just be a comment. You know what the problem is, and you can be very helpful without calling attention to it. I go back to like my anxiety thing. I know when I'm in that syndrome, and Anne Marie, she understands I'm in that syndrome, and she doesn't say, "Oh, you're having a panic attack." she comes and she says, I know you need your time. If I got to be alone or whatever,
Wow.
she just lets me to be alone, and she knows that to come check on me and get me some water or whatever. It just she figured out how to be helpful without saying, is it this? Is it that? Or all in my face. You know what I
That's
mean? Like
so empathetic. I
that's
absolutely respect the hell out of
I
that.
oh, she is a great wife. And I'm just saying that, that's how we need to be. We
Hmm.
need to be that same
When we're at
way.
our best, we are. When we're allowed to be.
When we are at our best, we are
Yeah.
like that. And
Hmm.
it's just being compassionate and remember that old word chivalry? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's a good thing, right?
Well,
We
we
should
got
be
away from a
chivalrous.
lot of traditional ideals. And I think that's why this is such taboo.
You're right. I mean, the more I looked into this, the more it turned out that the major problem is communication on this and how we're communicating about this. And there's a lot of fear and anxiety, and I don't know how else we can get through it, but it seems to we got to start early with kids and get them so
Hmm.
that they can talk about this. And
Hmm.
look at all the other things we've been able to pull out into the light and talk about, and now we're making progress
Yeah.
on these kinds of things. Just you know, um, I was thinking back to the first time I heard about menopause, and it was on All in the Family.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Not surprised, really.
there was an episode where Edith was experiencing this, and they made fun of it and everything.
But it
But
brought awareness.
this is how comedians and can be very effective in society. Is exactly what you said. Is that they can talk about things that other people just can't talk about, and
You know
it
what it
did
got?
bring
It
awareness.
got you to ask your parents about it.
I can't remember if I did or
Oh,
not,
you
but I'm
know it
sure that
happened.
I did.
It
Like,
probably happened to me
what?
too, but I don't remember it. I'm sure I
Yeah,
saw that episode too, you know?
I wonder how it went. Like, hey,
Hmm.
Dad, what
Yeah,
is
what's that?
menopause? Shut up, son.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance it went that way. Let me just say a couple other things because these are important and we can move on here in a minute. Oh, I wanted to mention, by the way, this is episode 300.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right. So
Oh, that's exciting there.
congratulations to us. And with
We
that,
chose a subject for 300.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so funny.
I think it's important. And also, I don't think that we need to beat it like a dead horse, but we have shared super important information. And because it's episode 300 and because we do stuff like this, I want to just ask, we don't ask much. I literally want to ask you guys to share this episode and whatever platform you like listening on. If you got your thing, it may be YouTube, it may be Apple Podcasts, it may be Google Podcasts, or Spotify. I want you, please, because we put out a lot of effort to do this, just this. Whatever platform you're on, stick with it. But go to another platform, one of the other ones I just mentioned, and subscribe there too. Just because it gives us a little boost. That's all. You don't have to use it. Just subscribe. Maybe
I
add a
like that.
comment. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or a review. That would be great. That's all.
We
We
got a
really
great
appreciate
comment
that.
last week from Clay out there. Thanks for listening,
I
Clay.
don't remember. Yeah,
Appreciated the
yeah.
comment, but he was talking about how he loves the subjects that we bring up and how we were able to talk through those subjects and just keep up the good work. So really appreciate that, Clay. Keep
Really.
on watching and everybody else out there. We love to get those kinds of comments. It's encouraging. It's like it's our gas in the
Yeah.
tank. So thank you very much.
Well said. And so go to over50startingover.com and sign up there. All this comes to your email box. You don't even have to think about anything from there. So, okay, let's wrap this up, Merle. Can it be life threatening? Directly, no. Menopause itself isn't fatal. Indirectly, absolutely. I didn't write this stuff. Suicide spike
Wait, wait,
in. Go ahead.
oh,
Okay, suicide spike in women ages 45 to 54, often tied to undiagnosed or untreated menopausal symptoms. And this is something that we wanted to get across is the undiagnosed or untreated because hormone replacement therapy today, get to the right doctor, it's extremely effective. Untreated, Osteoporosis post-menopause can lead to fractures and decline. I assume it's talking about skeletal decline. Cardiovascular disease risk rises significantly after estrogen drops. There's also an increase in
Mhm.
women cheating. But we won't talk about that anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
so I wanted to bring up something here,
mhm.
Barry, is that my dad's mother passed away before I was born. And he was very, very hurt by that. There's a long story behind that, but he never talked about his mom. And so I didn't really ever get to know about my grandmother. Her name was Ruth. And long after my dad passed away, I was talking to my Aunt Flo about Ruth, my grandmother Ruth, and I had always heard that she died of a heart attack in her late 50s. And my Aunt Flo went on to say, well, that's what we've said, but her contention is that it was menopause
Wow.
actually caused her death, and that it was all of the symptoms of menopause that actually uh, really together caused her demise. So you just
Wow.
talked about cardiovascular disease and all of these osteoporosis, but and she was very poor in the South and couldn't afford, of course, they didn't have these hormone replacement therapies at the time, and nor did she have access to the kind of medical care.
Right.
And that what my aunt explained is that many, many millions of women have passed away that way over time. That's just the
Sure.
life
We wouldn't even know how
expectancy
to,
for women, right?
yeah, how to pull that one, you know?
Right, right. So this is serious. And her husband had been separated when she died. So they weren't together. Now that was I'd heard it had to do with finances. He had to move to Pennsylvania and work in a coal mine because it was really the only place where a black person could make a decent living. But It's a sad story, and I'm sure that story is played out. The
Yeah.
unknown stories like that are
Yeah.
there's probably a million of those or more, and
Yeah.
and that's why I'm saying is that these stories can easily be swept under the rug. Oh, it's natural. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's unexplained. No, this is something I think as we've exposed the healthcare industry on this show, as a matter of fact, this is one of those things that they should be keeping their eye on the ball, and they apparently aren't because the experience that women are having like Lisa is you go and you're
It's
told
awful.
everyone's got a different story and you don't get the truth and you're told, "Oh, you're normal." Well, you feel anything but normal, but if you're told by a doctor that you're normal when you feel like you're upside down, that's insanity.
Disregarded
That is
again.
that is a bad, bad place to be right there,
Hmm.
and that's happening every day.
And often our medical practitioners want to deal with the symptoms rather than go to the root of the problem, meaning it could be the heart palpitations, heart related things. That's all they're thinking about when the real cause of it is the menopause itself.
Well, and think about the money that's generated from just treating the symptoms and
Oh,
not the
God.
root.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a whole motivation there, not necessarily from your doctor, but maybe. But the industry in general is always looking to make exorbitant profits. And so when we got a story in the news right now about medical prices and what the Trump administration
Oh,
did at
yeah.
the beginning of the week is
Hmm.
pretty pretty huge, but it
Hmm.
also points to how we have been scalped over the years
Yeah.
by our own
We've
American
all known that.
industries.
I think we just started accepting it,
I
you
think you're
know?
right. I think you're right. I think that's exactly right. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about General Quast and the Space Force, but he talked about paradigms and how we get stuck in
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
paradigms and therefore we cannot progress. And this is one of them, is what it seems like. There's a paradigm of not paying attention to this and calling
Yeah.
it normal.
You're right.
And we got to change that paradigm. There's a
Some things
paradigm
are.
of this being taboo, and so we can't talk about this.
Mm,
And I don't blame women because I can
mm.
see how the fear of it being used against them, and it
Yep,
has
yep,
been, and it
yep,
is,
yep,
and it
yep.
will continue to be until we do something about this.
Yeah. And I found more stuff towards the bottom of my notes. I made a quick mention about there's said to be an increase in cheating. And I can't just let that go and lay it out there like that. That would be irresponsible. Kind of did that as kind of a teaser or something, some tabloid type stuff. But there's evidence that changes during menopause and perimenopause can influence relationship dynamics, including infidelity in some women. Here's why: biological and emotional factors. Hormonal fluctuations can trigger a powerful sense of restlessness and dissatisfaction. Drop in estrogen/testosterone can tank libido or spark unpredictable surges. Identity shifts. Many women reassess their life, marriage, and sense of self during this phase. Midlife crisis plus menopause equals vulnerability. Feeling unseen or unsupported, that's back on us, men. Feeling unseen or unsupported by a long-term partner during this storm can make validation from outside feel intoxicating. That's a horrible truth. It's a very horrible truth. Some describe it as I didn't feel like myself, and suddenly I wanted to feel alive again. Studies suggest emotional affairs or cheating can increase slightly in women aged 45 to 55. Takeaways for men. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. If your partner is in this life phase, don't withdraw or ignore changes. Be attentive, curious, and communicative. Don't assume silence means everything is fine. It's about communication. And this is kind of the point that I think we're trying to make here, breaking down the taboo so we can communicate.
Yes.
What are you all smiles about over there?
Well, what you said about assuming that silence means everything is fine. I think that's a number one red flag for any husband is silence. It's not good. That's all. That's all I have to say.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, this I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
that's
You were
okay.
saying some good things right there, but it was the silence thing that got me. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yes. I
Well,
lost
there
my
you
train
go.
of
You went
thought. Sorry.
silent again.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're
yeah.
giving
Thank you.
us the
Good
silent
segue.
treatment. I wanted to mention I only have a few more things to talk about, but they're
Just
kind of
brain
big
fog.
things. Gavin Newsom's reporting cutting back on healthcare benefits to illegal immigrants. That's so funny. The fact that that's even a headline that needs to be said is
I
bizarre to me. And it goes hand in hand with Democrat Rep Jasmine Crockett saying, let's go find the safest white boy we can find, which is going to be Gavin Newsom.
she's
You let
sick.
me in on. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Then the majority that I want to talk about is I want to relay this 3 episode series of Weaponized, which is about UFOs or UAPs or whatever, with the latest whistleblower that went public. I didn't hear you, your mic.
I said I hadn't heard that.
It's really like I just finished it like 2 days ago, and it's mind blowing. I will
I want
tell
to
you
check
the
that out.
very last quote that he said of the 3 episode series, just to hook you. He said, God is real.
Amen to that.
And we live in a dream. And I guess the only other thing I want to say that I don't have a note on, but I want to kind of lob it up for you, is that I've been hearing that Trump has been turning his back on Netanyahu and all things Israel manipulated, that it seems like he has kind of found out that he's been used by
I
Netanyahu.
heard that
I've been
too.
hearing that in various
I'm not
sources.
so sure on
God, I
that.
hope it is true.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There are I have some stories here too.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to talk about some of the accomplishments of the Trump administration over the last week when it comes to Big Pharma, major trade breakthroughs that have happened over the last week here. Of course, Trump took a trip into the Middle East and caused some controversy on both sides of the aisle, especially when we talk about what happened at Qatar last week. And I have a take on how what he did over in Saudi Arabia is actually going to end the war in Ukraine, which is pretty cool. A little bit on what's going on in Qatar, as well as one last thing in Davos with Klaus Schwab and what's happening with him and the
He's
WEF.
supposed to be retired.
Oh, yeah, but there's some pretty interesting news
I
about
haven't
why that
heard.
happened. No, they've
Okay.
been trying to really keep this a secret from us. And I think some of that has to do with what Trump is doing, actually.
You know, I'm just going to say this as a general quote, but I am finding, and this goes through the whistleblower thing I was talking about, to all the attempts that the Trump administration has been trying to do. I am realizing that our elected officials is an outer layer facade. I think there's another sort of a facade of a layer underneath of that before you get to multiple layers of a deep state that actually run this world.
I think you're exactly right about that.
And
Oh, and one other thing is the
mhm.
whole thing in the news headlines today is Jim Comey and the message that he put on Instagram that said 8647.
What does that mean?
That's interesting. Is have you ever heard of hey, 86 that?
Yeah, delete
What is
that.
it? Delete, yes,
Get rid
40
of.
47. So it's 86 47. President is the 47th president.
Oh
Okay. Oh, we
boy.
could cover that right now since we're talking about
Mm,
it.
mhm.
Just James Comey casually calling for my dad to be murdered. Fox News
Oh
is
my
saying
God.
the Secret Service is investigating after an ex-FBI director James Comey posted an Instagram photo of seashells arranged to make the number 8647. A message that White House officials swiftly condemned as an attempt to put out a hit against the 47th president. Comey later deleted the post after online backlash from government officials, lawmakers, and President Donald Trump's son. Trump has faced two assassination attempts, one of which resulted in him being shot and a bystander being killed in the past year. The post included the alleged hit showed the number in question etched into the sand at a beach using seashells. Here's what he said: cool formation on my beach walk. And he went on to say, maybe that was it. While to some people the numbers may appear innocuous, 86 is frequently used as a call sign for murdering or getting rid of somebody, while 47 has been interpreted as denoting the 47th president, Trump. So they are actually investigating this, and the Department of Defense is all over this. This is a threat to assassinate the president by a credible threat. Comey actually later deleted it and said that he didn't realize that that the 8647 meant anything about violence, and since he abhors
What did he think
violence,
it meant?
he put it down. Well, he didn't say what he thought it meant, but let's just look at it this way, Barry. You knew what 86 meant. I knew what 86 meant. If a mob, if the head of the mafia said, hey, 86, that guy, the head of the FBI should actually understand what that meant. And if you're the head of the FBI and you don't know what that means, then you're incompetent. So
Well, okay,
either
there's all that. I also, okay, I don't think that a mob hit is going to be put out on Instagram. So it was
no, you're right.
probably
It's a
like,
signal to people out there. That's what I'm talking about.
okay,
You put that on Instagram, and that's your okay. If
I
Donald
think it's
Trump can
very
say,
wrong.
I do too, but if Donald Trump can get up on stage on September or January 6th and say, fight, 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 and then get indicted for trying to cause an insurrection. What do you do with this?
God, I don't even know what you're asking me.
I'm just
Um,
saying that this is a threat against the president's life by a credible person and that they're taking it seriously, and they should. I think they should. The guy's had two assassination attempts, so this is the ex FBI official. And we know there's a deep state, just like you talked about.
mm.
It is a call sign to 8647. Well, why would you
So,
put that out there?
what do you suggest should be done about this?
I personally think it should be investigated,
and
and
then
I
what?
think, and it is a federal offense to threaten to assassinate the president.
Of
I
course
think
it
there
is.
should be a trial on this, and if he's guilty, he should serve the whatever the sentence is. I think we should make examples of people that are absolutely breaking the law in our government.
Well, I would
And it's
say
high time.
this.
When is this going to happen?
I would say this. He would be the first one to stand trial on any of the treasonous activities that have been going on for the past 12 years or so. And
I
I
think
mean, I literally say that on a daily basis. So I'm
I think he put
tired of
himself in the
asking for everybody to be charged and looked into. How about what's her name? Jasmine, what the hell?
rocket.
No, okay, not her. The in New York,
New York. Oh, Letitia James.
Letitia James. All right. Lots of glee when she was being investigated for rental fraud that she
Yeah.
accused Trump of. Is anything else, any more news about it? Of course not. And there won't be. So, I'm just tired of hearing all this stuff.
Oh,
I,
I totally know what you mean here. I mean, it's like when is this going to happen? When are we going to
Well, and
actually?
here's the thing. Here's what I mean about the what I said earlier about the state being much deeper than we realize. And frankly, this whole elected official stuff in the Republicans versus Democrats, dude, this is a WWF scenario that's laid out for the public for distraction. There's no two parties. The fact that we even fall for this is ridiculous. If there were, there would be charges being brought for all the lawfare activity that has taken place over the years. So I'm just not falling for it anymore. To me, I mean, the awareness just continues to, I continue to be awakened.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's some crazy goings on out there for sure.
Okay, what are you all into over there?
Well, this big pharma thing that happened earlier this week to me is a big deal. This changes healthcare. We were talking about healthcare earlier and how uh, it's not just the subject we were talking about earlier with menopause. It's with everything. We are getting the runaround with everything, and we are getting charged through the nose. And it turns out that we're subsidizing other nations with our drug
Of
costs.
course we are.
Trump declared Monday that the U.S. will no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma as he signed an executive order implementing what his administration is calling most favored nation drug pricing. The principle's simple, Barry. Whatever the lowest price paid for a drug in other developed countries, that is the price Americans will pay. Trump said at the White House, and some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. So what's been happening is that we've been selling to other countries, and we Americans have been subsidizing, so they're paying much lower prices for the drugs that we are paying for coming from the exact same place. And just like you said earlier, Barry, is that we've just accepted this. We've
Mhm.
just come to accept it. We were told the reason for this was because of R&D, research and
Mhm.
development. And for some reason, the Americans had to foot the bill for research and
Exactly.
development for the whole world. Well, that was just the carny trick right there
Hmm.
to just charge Americans whatever they flip and want to charge Americans to the point where you got cancer, you have even hormone replacement therapy. The price is through the roof. And normal people can't afford to pay for this kind of stuff. And many times people just have to die because they
Yep.
can't afford these drugs, which are marked up 1 billion% so
Hmm.
that we can give it to somebody else. And that is unfair, and this is justice as far as I'm concerned. And I think this is going to change the trajectory of healthcare here in America.
All right. I like the sound of that. That's boy, that's only the opening gates of healthcare. There's a big deep dive that needs to happen there. I wonder, have you heard anything lately about RFK and his efforts? Because he's
Well,
got his
this
hands
actually
full.
goes right along with it. These efforts to bring down drug prices and make those affordable. I mean, when Trump was signing the executive order, it was RFK Jr. that was standing by his side. So this is all under his purview, and the new Surgeon General that's out there as well. This is it. I mean, they are going after making America healthy again, and this is another tremendous boom for us and in our health. So I'm pretty excited about all of the things that they're doing right now.
Oh, good, good. I haven't. I'm always looking for new news sources. I mean, that Daily Mail that I would always talk about, that I like to look at it because it has like right to the second, exposing stuff. It just went 100% tabloid. And
Oh, didn't it really?
oh God, so I always use Google News because there's a good array. But I'm still always, I'm a little lost in flying out in the wind, but also
I
over the
do.
last couple of weeks, I'm a little overwhelmed too. A little,
You know what? Me too. It's impossible. Just speaking of Trump, I mean, as I've been just trying to follow what he's doing, I can't keep up with him. He's
yeah,
he's too fast. There's too many things are happening right now. I mean, trying to follow this Middle East trip, and it's like it's world shaking what's happening right here. I do have a little bit more on the RFK Jr. stuff here and the Trump administration. They're conducting a full-scale crackdown on baby formula
good.
as it puts under scrutiny the link between Chinese labs and the U.S. food and beverage supply. What? The
Yeah.
Department of Health and Human Services and lawmakers on Capitol Hill are sounding the alarm and plan to demand full disclosure on the extent of links to the Chinese Communist Party and the U.S. funded labs. We've been hearing a lot about that
Dude, I
lately.
wouldn't be surprised if they find plastic in that baby formula.
Get this. This is diabolical as I get further into this. Specifically, HHS officials tell the Daily Mail,
Mm.
that they're worried that Chinese intelligence already has access to a slew of information on DNA and biometrics because companies with this data are operating in China. So
Oh,
get this, Barry. Sources are said concerns are growing within the government over China's effort to expand their footprint when it comes to assessing Americans' data and researching or producing foods and beverages that are sold in the US. That includes research on infant stools, which means babies' DNA could be accessed by the Chinese intelligence. Get this, if the Chinese are testing baby formula and the impact on babies, then they're acquiring DNA to do that. An official with HHS told Daily Mail. So they're linking the stool samples and the DNA to the baby formula to see what it's actually doing to these babies.
oh
And
God.
that information is being stolen or manipulated into the CCP to use against us.
For
So in other
sure.
words, if they want to kill you, they can figure out some kind of time bomb to put inside of the baby formula, and they're figuring it out through DNA.
Hmm.
I just bring it back to this book that I read. Let's see if I can find it up there. Oh, yeah. Remember, we interviewed that guy that got caught in the Chinese dark prison, and he was stuck there they almost killed him over there. But he had a quote on his book from one of the officials from the Chinese Communist Party back around 2000, where he was Chi Hodian is his name. And he was talking about a biological weapon that can be used against Americans that they're developing that'll give them the living space that they need. And when you look at
Wow.
things like this, where they're using infant stool samples and baby formula,
Along with
uh,
our tech that we keep giving them.
I mean, it is that's so true. Let's see, another quote. Any company operating in China is subject to the Chinese Communist Party's intelligence laws, which require full cooperation with their surveillance apparatus. So any business here in America, let's say it's a baby formula company or it's a DNA type of a company that wants to do business in China, you have to give them all of your intellectual property in order to operate there. So if you've got the baby formula company, you're giving them your secret sauce, everything that's in it, so that they can start to manipulate it. So this is the big threat that the Trump administration is looking into with RFK Jr. These are things that are underlying, ready to attack our vulnerable citizens, and we never heard about this before. And
No,
now this organization is in here, and I'm telling you, Barry, the Trump derangement syndrome seems to be there. And we don't really understand. When you take a look at this, it's like everybody should be on board with this. These are our most vulnerable people in the United States, are our infants, and it is our stock for American greatness. We can't be great in the future without these infants. So, and of course, China knows that. And this is a war strategy. We're at war with China. That's all there
oh,
is
for
to it.
sure. Well, what this all makes me think of is, so too little, too late. It's so dangerously too late that so much has happened. We've been so infiltrated. China has taken over so much of us, and we gleefully give it to them out of greed. And what I can't help wondering is, what if Kamala Harris won the election?
Oh my God. First off, none of these things in our healthcare
Would be
platform
even
would be
exposed or
changing
talked
again.
about? No.
No, we wouldn't talk about that at all. I have one more thing I want to
Hmm.
put out there, changing gears just a little bit about the Trump trip out to the Middle East this week has been a whirlwind. I think he's a whirlwind. I think he's back actually today in America, but just some of the highlights. Trump and Saudi Arabia announced a $600 billion investment in the United States and a $142 billion investment in providing Saudi Arabia with a state-of-the-art war-fighting equipment and services from a dozen U.S. defense firms. So, I'm conflicted on this one, Barry, because here's the military-industrial complex in action right here, and Trump is at the
As
center of
always.
that whole
Yeah.
thing. And then the other side of the coin is this, and I think this is big because when you look at the fact that Trump met with the Syrian president in Saudi Arabia and urged him to establish ties with Israel. Um, so here's the interesting thing. We talked a little bit about, is Trump dissing Netanyahu? Maybe. But as far as Israel is concerned, this is in the center of his plan. If you take a look at what happened with the Houthis and how the Trump administration really took the wheels off of what the Houthis are doing, even though they're still attacking Israel right now. This move is even more interesting because if you take a look at the Iranian deal that's happening with the Shiite Muslims, you look at Saudi Arabia, which is a Sunni country, and Shiites and Sunnis hate each other. They've been trying to kill each other for over 1,000 years now. And then you take a look at what happened in Syria. Here's President Trump recognizing the new Syrian leader who took over through really a revolution against Assad. Bashar Assad. Assad is his last name. Anyhow, he's out of there. He was a Shiite in a Sunni dominated country. So him and his father ruled that country for over 50 years by just pure brutality. Now it's a Sunni leader there, a Sunni leader in uh, in Saudi Arabia, and Trump is making huge allegiances there. They both hate Iran. Iran is trying to destroy Israel. It looks to me like Trump is forming an alliance to combat the strength of Iran there. And at the same time, Trump is targeting Iran and talking about their nuclear capabilities and destroying those nuclear capabilities. Of course, the Houthis came from Iran. They're a proxy of Iran. So that's what this is all about. But then, secondly, this alliance with Saudi is going to, and these investments is going to cause oil prices to go down. And the interesting part of that is that that completely has a negative impact on Russia because as I did my research on this, Russia is a oil exporter. We are an oil importer. So when prices go up, the exporters are making a mint. So over the past several years, Putin's been waging war in Ukraine, and at the same time, oil prices have been high, which causes him to have surplus money to continue waging that war. Once these prices go down, it is going to be a major deficit, and about 36% of the Russian economy depends on this oil. So immediately upon that price going down, Barry, Putin's not going to be able to wage that war any longer in Ukraine.
Hmm.
This is a
What
brilliant
happened?
strategy.
What
Go ahead.
happened to drill, baby, drill?
Well, I don't think that's gone away. And I think what's happening is that America, in fact, what we're seeing, and this is, I'm glad you asked this, we went from being an oil importer to an oil exporter in 2020 for the first time under Trump. First time. But by 2022, under the Biden administration, we became an importer again. So it was all of those executive orders that Joe Biden signed on day one caused us to have a deficit when it came to oil production. That's all changing around now. So we're going to see, we're still an importer right now, but we're going to see those things change. In the meantime, Trump is trying to cause peace in the world, especially in Ukraine. And while that process is moving along slowly, this will certainly speed that up. It'll also cause that whole thing with Iran and Israel to quiet down because the financing is coming from Iran on that. And these moves that Trump is making in the Middle East and getting these countries to join the Abraham Accord that he started in his previous presidency. These are world changing things that are happening. And I haven't even started with Qatar. Go ahead, Barry.
What was I going to say about that? I mean, I hope that you're right. I was thinking like it just seemed like he was all Israel, Israel, Israel. And I kind of been wondering, I don't think I ever verbalized this, but I've been wondering this for a few weeks now, is the fact that he can't run again and the fact that he's about 81 years old or 80 years old, whatever, is like Miriam Adelson, that's her name. I could never remember. His
Yes,
biggest
right.
donor.
The donor, right.
And Trump's personality. It's like, why would he feel beholden to anybody?
I agree.
Like he should be able to just be like, whatever. I appreciate what you did for me, and I'm doing what's best for the country. And
I think that's what he's doing. I mean,
I
when you take
hope.
a look at the other thing that happened with the Chinese capitulation on the tariffs, I mean, this was a huge gamble, Barry. I mean, this all happened within the last week as China crumbled. Um, and it was everything to do with the tariffs. They got it ratcheted up to 125% on both sides. It was an embargo. There was no business happening between the two biggest producers in the world, and somebody had to blink first, and it was Xi Jinping. He had to. 40 banks closed the week before, and now those tariffs are down to 10% on both sides. And so
Okay.
so this is working. In other words, his plan is working. Uh, the I've got an article here that says now more than ever before, the searches on online searches are huge on American products. Where can I buy American products? So while the tariff worked, also it drew a lot of interest in switching, Chinese products to not buying from China. I think this worked against China big time. And I think once again, Trump was right. And this is actually working.
I hope so. Will remain
Huge things have happened here in the last week. Just
until they
absolutely
affect our
huge.
pocketbooks. I don't think anybody really cares that
I
much.
think you're right about that. And
Yeah.
but I do believe that when you take a look at the drug prices, which is a major expense for Americans right now, we do see that the inflation has gone down best over the last week. This just came out. The biggest drop in 5 years in inflation. That's huge. Eggs are down. We see that. Gasoline prices are down right now. So we're actually seeing the barometer starting to move in the right direction. Think when it comes to economy, these types of things sometimes don't shake out immediately, but over time, we're all going to start to feel this. And
I hope you're
I'm
right.
I'm very encouraged by what's going on. And you can also see the collapse of the other side around the world happening everywhere. Those who were espousing DEI are falling off the edge of the earth right now. Those who are espousing gender dysphoria types of programs are not in the area of popularity anymore. And our American food is about to change, where we're taking a lot of these dangerous chemicals out of our food. I just heard where In-N-Out Burger out here is going to remove all of these dyes that they have been pinpointed out of their fast food, and they're going to have like all natural. So this is having a ripple effect on our consumerism now.
I heard a story a week or two ago about some fast, I think maybe fast food in general, that consumption had been down by like 1.5% or something like that, which is a lot in the grand scheme of things. And then people are
Yes.
like, well, it's because everybody's broke and things like that. And I was like, how about some awareness? They had all of a sudden awareness as to all of the crap that is being put in their food. And I
Yeah,
think that maybe that accounts for a little bit of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I love all of the revelation that's happening right now because I really believe that it's these revelations are going to cause the people to change. And as I keep saying on this show, that it's not going to be the government that's going to make the major changes. It's going to be us. It's going to be a major groundswell coming from us. It already is. That's what's happening. And
Well,
I'm delighted.
I hope that one thing that happens is because of the amount of smoke screen that our government has gotten good at, and it's not sophisticated. It's not like it's
Oh,
James Bond stuff. It's just the
yeah.
old red, who's got the white hat, who's got the black hat, go to war, and the Republicans versus Democrats. I hope that the awareness keeps raising at this very exponential rate that it seems to me it has been, and we do away with the freaking parties so that we can open up our eyes to the tribalism that's been used against us, the race wars that have been fabricated for the last 12, 14 years or what have you, since Obama's second administration, and just become aware of it and just start saying no to it. It used to be anytime that there was some whisper of somebody being racist or something, because I'm seeing this anti-Semitism thing even play out, of course, here in Cleveland Heights. They're going to jump on this and call one of their neighbors an anti-Semite. And my point is, when this would be heard in the past, before all of this BS started in a public forum, it used to just be like people would just like, if somebody actually said something racist, you kind of roll your eyes. And then when you leave, you would go, did you hear what that person just said? And nobody
Right.
would like that person. And it would be handled and taken care of. but we wouldn't have to put it in the newspapers and virtue signal ourselves over that person and try to destroy them for our own credibility. Like, we need to wake up to what's been going on here and we need to
Yeah,
stop doing it.
I totally agree. Yeah, well said, Barry.
Well, with that, I mean, the only thing I got left that I want to talk about is this weaponized three-part stuff. But do you have more that's related
I
to what
do
we go
actually.
ahead?
Just the one thing is, it's just so interesting to see what's happening with Trump, with foreign relations, how he is putting the band back together with the Abraham Accord and getting all of these nations excited, all of this investment in America. What was Qatar actually promised 1.2 trillion in investment when he was there, caused a lot of controversy there. But at the same time, we're seeing where these other organizations that are extremely anti-Trump are really falling apart. You look at the Democrat Party and look at Jasmine Crockett. That seems to be their lead person on the Democrat
Good
side, and
God.
it's just very low level type of no ideas and just, whatever Trump says, I hate it. That's all they got. They don't have anything else. And then when you take a look at the international side of things, it looks like the World Economic Forum is having a very hard time. And you looked at how Klaus Schwab announced his retirement last month, but it's turning out. Let me just look through this a little bit. Klaus Schwab told trustees of the World Economic Forum last month that he was planning to start the process of stepping down, but then some things came out, and the board of the World Economic Forum forced him out, and so he apparently is fighting against some accusations from former employees that he had sexually harassed them, and so there is a new lawsuit out that's from this woman. She wants an exorbitant amount of money,
Ah, of course.
there are several others that are saying this as well. There are also now complaints that he was uh, set up an environment that was anti-woman and also anti-black. And so there are people that are saying this, but isn't it interesting how when here's Trump on a roll, but then you take a look at this force that seemingly has been against us for the last few years. I didn't know anything about them until COVID.
Mm.
And then when I started listening to what they were saying, and also the world leaders that have come out of the World Forum, Trudeau, Larry Fink,
Hmm.
King Charles, and the things that they're talking about, these are sort of the darlings. They're hell bent on destroying the world. And Klaus Schwab has been at the front end of it, but now he's unceremoniously being taken down and exposed for the type of person that he apparently has always been, which is opposite than the great reset that he talked about. And even the books that he's written, there's now scrutiny over the great reset and some of the other books saying he didn't actually write those books. They were written by a ghostwriter, which is a common practice these days. He's trying to say, no, I was very involved in the writing of these books, but the credibility of the man who started the World Economic Forum is now below ground. And who knows if this organization, Davos, isn't the same place it used to be. And it feels like the moves that Trump is making has destroyed what they have been brewing up for 40 years now.
Okay, so Trump's the world savior now. Okay.
Not
What?
saying that. I'm saying that it seems that these moves, these economic moves, and by the way, economics, it's king. As far as military might goes, you cannot have military might without the economy first. And so here's Trump in Qatar doing a $1.2 trillion deal. If he doesn't do that deal, guess who does do that deal? China. And so, say what you will, I don't trust Qatar either. They are invested in all of our colleges. They hate America. However, um, that financial piece is king right now, and China will take that and use it to destroy us. And here Trump is forcing China to the table and causing world economy to change. And that is what he's done. I'm not calling him a savior in any way, but what I'm saying is I think the moves that he has made over the past several months have been brilliant.
It wouldn't
Time will
surprise
tell.
me
Time will tell.
uh, with the World Economic Forum. It wouldn't surprise me if they just had their inside meetings and said, you know what, this has gone too public. We had a real good stealth thing going on. Let's shake things up and take it more underground.
I think that's actually very, very wise
Yeah,
business statement. I think that's what's happening.
I mean, everything I just see is so covert, has always been so covert. And as I say, I think this is an age of awareness with the podcast sharing information and finally the awakening from mainstream media that maybe they realize that they need to go a little more underground. Uh, did you have anything other things that you wanted to share, Merle?
Those were the main things I needed to share.
Okay, so I wanted to get onto this weaponized three-part series, and I'm not going to overblow anything because really what I'm getting out here is there's some very interesting things I'm going to share. If you want to dig deeper, this is where you find it. That's all. So weaponized is it's a podcast by Jeremy Corbell, who's one of the leading UFO UAP what do you want to say, investigator people. And his partner, sometimes partner in crime, is George Knapp, and he is a Las Vegas journalist. And he's been on TV since like the 80s or something on one of the news programs, but he started doing some UFO uncoverings, and he became known for that. And so it's been a side gig all these years, and they have this podcast together. And mostly it's over the last couple of years that I've been listening to it. It's been a little bit campy. But sometimes they come out with major stuff, and this is a major one. So this has been a 3-part series I've been listening to over the last 3 weeks. It just concluded the other day. And it's about Matthew Brown. And I have a little bit of footage on this. Matthew Brown is a former analyst who worked with the U.S. Department of Defense and the State Department. He's one of many people that have become whistleblowers because there's been this Whistleblower Act that he talks about that he had taken full advantage of that seemed to be like a bone thrown their way to appease what seems to me to be this outer layer of public-facing government that, but boy, I'm becoming more and more aware of it. It's kind of a facade. But he authored the Immaculate Constellation Report, which was submitted to Congress and is based on evidence he uncovered during his tenure in the national security sector. So I'm trying to decide. You know what? I think I should start with just showing a bit of this video. I didn't listen to a lot of this video. It is of the podcast that I listened to. So I don't know where this guy that is sharing the video, I don't know where he starts interrupting again. So, but I know that this is a good place to start.
In the comments below. Okay, here's Matthew Brown talking about being left behind.
What I have learned is that
sound good?
We live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted. I think we are left behind.
Humans.
I think normies, the normal humans, the people have been left behind. Us. Mm-hmm. People need to understand that we might have freedom of speech, but that has been subverted. We do not have freedom of inquiry. We are blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we are blocked from advancing in science. We are taught false science intentionally to prevent us from learning more. We live in the matrix.
Okay, so
So that was a lot of very important stuff right there. And what I wanted to just read in my notes, you could ask questions or inquire or just make comments where you want, Merle. So in episode 1, the UFO whistleblower goes public. Brown introduces the term immaculate constellation. I've been hearing about this for at least a year now, describing it as a covert program that utilizes artificial intelligence to scan classified military servers for UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs, imagery. Immaculate Constellation is the name of a highly classified U.S. Program allegedly dedicated to the collection and analysis of UFO data. According to whistleblower Matthew Brown, a former Department of Defense and State Department analyst, the program operates without congressional oversight and is part of a network of special access programs, SAPs, that manage UFO-related information. I'm saying when it says UAP, I'm substituting myself UFO so people.
Yeah.
He claims this program operates under the executive branch, specifically controlled by the White House, and is not acknowledged by the Department of Defense. Brown details his internal attempts to report the program, which were consistently obstructed, leading him to go public despite potential risks to his career and personal safety. That was episode 1.
Wow.
My notes on episode 2 are shorter. A UFO whistleblower's journey. He elaborates on the depth of the UFO cover-up, asserting that significant information is being withheld from both public and Congress. I want to put an aside in here. Something that I've come to know very recently, come to realize, is that when we talk about this attempt at disclosure, I think, at least I had always considered that all these people I know in the government are against this disclosure. Like, oh my God, don't let them find out about this stuff. That's exactly wrong. Everybody that we know, their names in the government are for the disclosure pretty much. They're as in the dark as we are. These are lower level. This is what I kind of been talking about throughout this episode. The deep state is deeper than we really think.
Agreed.
Yeah, and these guys that we elect and we see on YouTube videos and stuff that we talk about on this show, they don't know what's really going on either.
I don't think they do either.
No, they don't. So I'll continue. Brown discusses the methodical process he followed to bring his findings to light, emphasizing the systemic barriers that discourage transparency. He reveals that his career and security clearances have been jeopardized due to his discussion to disclose the information. So that was episode 2. And the final episode. This was the big one, and you saw some really important stuff right there just a second ago. A whistleblower honors his oath. Brown warns about the manipulation of public perception regarding UFOs, stating that fear, greed, and willful ignorance are tools used by those in power to maintain secrecy. He makes a chilling statement that we are living in a dream, a constructed reality, suggesting that science presented to the public is tightly controlled and that humanity has been left behind in terms of technological and possibly spiritual advancement. Brown implies that humanity may be viewed as a resource or entertainment by non-human intelligences. I had the link to the YouTube video there. His final statements, paraphrase, was his final sentence was, God is real. But he says, we've been left behind. We live in the matrix. And again, the final thing he says, and God is real. What is meant by all of that if you put it all together? I'm left with a puzzle myself. So we have to once again struggle with something I've been struggling with for a couple of years now, is that we live in the matrix, a construct, but when you're viewing things that are basically a video game,
Yeah,
It'll come to
paradigm.
it'll come to me in a minute. So there's that, and that God is real, both at the same time. So if you think that we are living in the matrix, well, then who is the creator of the matrix? That would be the God. You could call it that. Would be that creator. Just as we see this world, God as the creator. I always I've been coming back to what really is the difference? I kind of tend to think of, if you look at the biblical version of God in our world and everything, I said this a lot. It's just like, well, we just don't have the vocabulary that otherwise went with it. The Bible's using the vocabulary that they had at that time to describe this matrix that we are living in with its creator. I don't know. It gets very confusing, but I think that we're very much onto something here. What is really frustrating and confusing. Now you have to, how much do you take Matthew Brown at his word and his credentials and all? So, you decide for yourself about that. But the fact that he says, and I've been hearing this a lot over the last couple of years, our science as we know it is very limited with what is being shared. That's very frustrating to me.
Yes.
And in fact, it sounds like we are guided down this limited road. So that
I agree. I think that's absolutely the truth. I just got done reading this book, The Naked Communist. I think I brought this up a couple of times, but it goes into communist philosophy coming from the fathers of communism, Karl Marx, Nietzsche, many of the other ones, Hegel. But at the foundation of this is this desire to destroy God and use science as a way to have a platform of truth that can, and the reason why science is so valuable to this plan is that it can be manipulated and changed to suit the agenda. And see, now God can't do that. You can't do that with God. You can't. The Bible is the Bible, right? You're going to run up against the law, and then, but under communism, morality is whatever is expedient for communism, right? And then you've got the law stands against that. So we got to get rid of that.
That's why the Constitution is based on inalienable rights given to you by God.
This is why when we went over the Constitution, we had to start with the Declaration of Independence because it's the foundation that the Constitution is built on. And that is why they need to take that down, because it stands against their version of truth, which is a constantly moving target.
We're kind of onto something here.
We really are, aren't we?
Yeah. This is kind of exciting. In a way.
But when you look at it, and I keep saying this, Barry, that the reality today that we're looking at is painted on a canvas of good versus evil. And so we see the motivation of communism. Of course, it's not always called communism, and it's really communism is backed by our dark enemy, right? And he has a personality and he wants to destroy God. And here, Karl Marx, when asked what his goal was, it was to destroy God and capitalism. And when you take a look at what he means by capitalism, he's talking about not the capitalism that we're used to with the thumb on the scale. We're talking about compassionate capitalism based on the free market. It always rises to the top. It automatically adjusts itself. It's based on human nature. Communism is based on the opposite. And so that's why their nations always end up failing. That's why we always see human rights issues in those places. That's why we always see a lot of death over there, because Satan is there to kill, steal, and destroy. And that is a culture of death. And what we have here, which the light is starting to fade, is a culture of life. And the two can't coexist because one is hell-bent on destroying the other, and the other is so nice it wants to coexist with the killer. You can't, it's not going to work. But that's where we are.
I think that's interesting. The one is so nice they want to coexist with the killer. That I see that methodology being used against us all the time.
So really, baby. I'm sorry, baby. So really, Barry, when we talk about China, I mean, the fact is, they just capitulated the other day. We're talking about communism, right? You think they want to play nice in the sandbox with us? They want to be friends with us? No. What they want is they want to become powerful enough to the point where they can destroy us.
Yes.
And if their
Yes.
banks are collapsing, they're not going to be able to destroy us. So they have to play nice in the sandbox for a certain amount of time. And boy, I have a quote here somewhere. It's from a Russian leader. I'm just going to paraphrase here, where he talks about the fact that he's a communist leader under Lenin, and he talks about how to destroy the Americans. And he says that the Americans are so willing to be friends with us that that's how we're going to destroy them. We are going to start the biggest peace initiative. We are going to have audacious concessions that are unheard of. You've never heard of it before, and the Americans and their greed and their ignorance will line up to participate in their own demise. And when we have put them to sleep, we will smash them with our clenched fist. That's what we're dealing with. And while I'm talking about communism, what I'm talking about really is how that's painted on a canvas of good versus evil. This is exactly how evil thinks. This is how Satan thinks, and that's what we're involved in. And on the good side, we can't coexist with the one that wants to devour us. We always have to stand our ground here.
Well, agreed with that. Should we wind up? I'm just
I just
looking at
wanted
the
to make a
time.
comment just on that video, though. Stunning to hear what that man had to say, and yet not surprising.
I find that interesting. I always wonder how you're going to receive something like this. I just strongly encourage anybody and everybody that has any curiosity about what I briefly laid out there to watch, listen to it. I got it on Apple Podcasts. It's called Weaponized, and
Yeah, it's very interesting.
yeah, dude, I'd highly recommend you to listen to that 3-part series. So it's about a total of 3 hours.
The idea of the matrix, though, I think is super interesting. And I think it bears out biblically that we are living in a deception.
A
And that,
simulation was the word I was looking for a little while ago.
gotcha,
Simulation.
gotcha. And it's like that movie. I thought a lot about the movie The Truman Show, along
Oh,
with The Matrix,
did
where
you just recently watch that?
I didn't. No,
Because I thought you never saw it. Because we
no.
talked about it before.
I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times,
Mm.
but it's like the whole thing is he's living in a fictional story, but
A
he's the only
reality
one
TV
that
show.
doesn't. Yeah, he's the only
Mm.
one on the show that doesn't know that it's not
I
reality.
have felt like my entire life has been that.
I remember that show when I was
Mhm.
little, Candid
Mhm.
Camera,
Mm.
and I remember being paranoid that I was on that show all the time. Like,
That's
oh, Candid
really
Camera.
that's a
That's
really
what
good analogy. That's
that's
a
what the
good
Truman Show was, right?
introduction to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and like this whole thing is a big joke on me, and everybody's watching,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that is it. When you start to look at what's really going on here, it seems like that's what's happening,
Yeah.
and all of this, and there are people, an elite group of people that are like, "Hoo, ha, 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 we got them now,"
Mhm.
and really, when we throughout the time that we've had this show, we're on episode 300, 5 years. It's that we've discovered this underground system
Mhm.
that's actually controlling what we see that looks normal.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's a storm, but what's causing the storm is above it, and we can't see that. And we just think it's normal, but this is anything but normal.
Yeah.
That's what the Matrix is.
Yeah. There's a lot there. We could, certainly go deeper and crazier
Yeah,
with it,
yeah.
but we're gonna
Crazier.
come back to the We're going to come back to the subject matter, but I will say this. I honestly feel like, especially when I'm listening to what this guy has to say, God, you got to listen to it, Merle.
Yeah, I
I
can't wait.
feel like a rat in a maze, and I am being prodded to go in certain directions at certain times. I'm being tested with other things at other times, and I'm not sure if it's for entertainment purposes, like I'm a zoo creature, or if it is to harvest. I hear
Wow.
things harvesting. We hear things dating back to Bob Lazar, the 80s, about, he says, soul harvesting. And
Yeah.
religion was developed so that we wouldn't destroy ourselves because they are harvesting our souls. That one's crazy to even think about. Okay. I don't know.
Well, I do know
I
that,
don't know.
to his point, that is exactly what Satan wants to do, is harvest your soul. And also, just to come full circle on what you just said, feeling like a rat in a maze, being prodded. I just go back to Lisa's story at the beginning of the show. Like, that sounds like exactly what she was experiencing and has been experiencing. And
Wow.
so we're all dealing with this matrix thing right now. And I think the key to victory is us communicating. I was a little nervous about talking about uh, menopause this morning, especially when I woke up. I was, oh my God, this is what I got to talk about. But I thought we did a good job of covering
I
that.
did too.
And again, I just want to say thank you to Lisa for sharing her
Yeah.
personal story.
Important.
In all of my research, what I found is that it takes a lot of courage for a woman to actually talk about her journey on this whole thing. So hats off to you, Lisa, and your courage. Thank you very much. I think this is something that's genuinely beneficial to humankind here.
I do
So
too.
thank you for
To our
helping
health.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for our health, relationships as well, the whole 9 yards. It's, to benefit all of us.
I feel like hearing her story, I can empathize. I guess I can't really empathize, right? I can only sympathize.
You can
Uh,
empathize for sure.
I've never
You're
had
a very
menopause, but
empathetic person.
my sympathy comes from my experience with anxiety, and so I can't say that I can get what she gets, but I do get the desperation
Mhm.
and the runaround, and okay, now you're in this situation. You can't talk to anybody about it because then they'll use that against you.
Yeah.
You're very
Yeah.
vulnerable. You feel vulnerable. You don't feel like yourself anymore. You feel like you're washed up and ruined. Yeah, and then what do you do? I mean, there's moments where you just sit there and cry because there's nothing else you can do. And so I pray for all of you, all of us, because this is impacting the whole world. And wasn't it interesting to find out that it's viewed differently and even the symptoms are different around the world?
That was eye-opening to me. That shed a
Yeah,
light. There's so many things here in the West that we got backwards. And
no kidding.
I think our society is intentionally being twisted upon itself. We know that. We both
Yeah.
know that. But I was going to show a video of a cat rescuing another cat from a dog
I
for the
love
lighter
it.
side of light. However, I think with everything that you just said, I think that's a perfect place to stop. And there
Let's
you
wrap it
go,
up.
baby.
Yeah, baby.
Stay tuned for Mark's AI video.
Hello again, over 50 starting over friends. Mark Tenepak with you with your AI tip of the week. This week, a ChatGPT prompt hack. Prompting, we're all learning, and hopefully every day you're practicing your prompting and using AI every day, aren't you? But I find prompting is a challenge for most folks. Talking to the AI and getting the desired results that you want. It's just a challenge for a lot of people. Most people I talk to, and especially a lot of the folks that go through my basic AI workshop, they simply don't provide enough information, enough context, enough instruction to get the desired result. The solution? As I always say, just talk to the AI. Just literally talk to the AI. So here is your ChatGPT hack. First of all, take out your phone and open up voice memos on an iPhone or a voice recorder on your Android. Next, just record and talk through your ideas, exactly what you want to use AI for. What do you want it to do? Just talk through it. Then you want to copy the auto transcript from your voice app, and then you want to paste that transcript into ChatGPT and tell the AI you want it to write the prompt for you. That's all you do. And it could be as simple as a prompt like this. Take this transcription and write a detailed prompt that I could use. It's a great place to start, and work through it with the AI. Then, if you like the prompt, start a new chat, assign a role to the AI if necessary, and just paste that AI developed prompt back into ChatGPT. Just try it out. Then see what the results are. Then you can test, then you can refine, have AI rewrite some portions if need be, and just work through it until you get that desired output or result. Here's a pro tip. This hack, it seems to work better in my testing with newer versions of the model. So the newer versions of ChatGPT, Gemini, and also Claude, their newest versions. It seems to work better in those models. Pro tip 2, we tell you about this a lot. Save all of your prompts into your own prompt library for future use. You will be surprised, I should say, at how often you'll use these and go back to your prompt library. It's like your AI gold. All of your prompts, that's all of your work. Create your own workflows that turn your thoughts into prompts, usable prompts that you could use over and over. Create your own AI tools. Think custom GPTs. And you can do this anywhere, anytime. Just take out your phone and start talking. I have a new podcast. It's called AI After 50. I sure hope you can join me. It's a great resource online. It's the AI After 50 podcast. Till next time, have fun, get creative, create your own personal prompting assistants, and use AI every day. Take care.